Hey everybody, it's Gavin Seim here. Just thought I'd go live for a couple minutes and give you guys a little update out here in central Mexico. Trying to stay free. Just out for a little bike ride in the countryside outside the towns today. It's real pretty out here actually. You've got the sheep are out here grazing. It's a nice quiet area outside here in central Querétaro State. Real nice. Sun's gonna be setting pretty soon, and just out trying to get some fresh air. I've had vertigo this week, and haven't been feeling real well for a while. But I go up and down. Some days I'm more productive than others. But this week I've had this vertigo, and well, it's not a very nice thing. Those of you that have dealt with that know that it's not. But I thought I'd go live because, man, there's a lot of talk happening in the world, in the USA. A lot of name calling, a lot of spite going on from people who once said they were with us and part of defending liberty, but as time has gone on, we see what usually happens in history is more and more people compromise for something, right? They compromise because they don't want to lose something. They compromise because they don't want to be in jail, and so they become a voice for the opposition, for the enemies of freedom, and and then you have people like me. You have people like Kelly or John or Josh Martinez, and you have people that just keep saying what they think. And what's happening is we've come to a place in our society where the USA is already lost. And I was thinking about this today, and I realized as I watch people, right? I watch people who actually, imagine a situation where you have a nation where people actually have their own family members being murdered by the cartel that is Blue ISIS, by the police, FBI, state troopers, local police, state police. They're all one. These guys are all members of the same cartel, from the courts to the judges to the police to the collectors, right? Hey, everybody in there, I see you. Good to see you guys. Thanks for popping in. Like and share this. Get it out there. I think we're going to have a couple of good topics today. But imagine where we've come to a place in society where the government can actually kill your family member, but you are so brainwashed that you continue to back Blue ISIS, that you continue to say, I support our system, that you continue to attack those who speak out against it. I've seen a lot of that this week. I've been catching a lot of name calling the past couple weeks, not because I hate anyone, not because I've been vitriolic or angry, but simply because, thanks guys, simply because I say what people don't want to hear. You know, when I'm saying what people don't want to hear and they hate me for that, I always think of Jesus, because he said, well, they hated me before they hated you. There's a pride in saying what people don't want to hear. Not a spite. And I think this is the key. People don't know my heart. I can be hard, right? I usually say it like it is. I challenge people. I call people out. And I'm not perfect. And I don't want to be a hypocrite in that. I try not to call people out over every imperfection. I try not to say, well, you screwed up, therefore you're a loser, right? Therefore I don't like you anymore. See, I don't play that game as much as possible. I try, like God said, to not be a respecter of persons. But what I've seen in our so-called patriot community that isn't really, because the real patriots oppose tyranny. The real patriots oppose Blue ISIS. But what I've seen is this mindset where we're complete respecters of persons, right? We defend our people, but the other faction, if they're getting abused, we celebrate it. You know, this recent case that you saw in Oregon where the FBI agent from the HRT assassination team was on trial for obstruction or one of these made-up charges, right? And people are upset because he didn't get convicted. Well, you know what, guys? He shouldn't have been convicted. And I was talking to my brother Nathan about this, and we were kind of discussing this case. This man is evil, right? These officers that killed Lavoie, the police that roam our streets, they're all one cartel, guys. And even the ones not pulling the trigger are partaking in it. These people should be charged with the murders and the crimes that they committed and given the due process they denied us and our families. But they shouldn't be convicted of fake crimes in fake courts. You see, people are saying, well, he should have been convicted of obstruction. No, he should have been charged with the murder that he partook in. He should have been charged along with everyone else, not just him, because he wasn't the only one. He should have been charged with the actual crime he committed, not a fake crime made up by the government. So when we support somebody we hate or that we don't like or that did wrong, that we know did wrong, being prosecuted for a fake crime, it's no different than when they support us being prosecuted for a fake crime. We see in our so-called patriot movement, that's really the fake-triot movement, we see them saying, well, we should be free, but the people from the faction protesting that we don't like, we want them to be in prison. We want them to be run over. We want them to be convicted of fake crimes. See, the problem is we have no freedom because we're filled with hypocrisy. And so as people come out and they say, go Trump, go freedom, go America, and they wave their flags, and then they're angry because their family has been murdered or their friends are being abused, and they're expecting, oh, we're going to win in court or we're going to get justice, and yet they refuse to actually have the courage to stand up to the evil. But it starts with the evil in their own hearts. So you can't stand up to tyranny and abuse and fascism until you're willing to stand up to the fascism, the hypocrisy that's in your own heart. And so what's happening is people like me, we say these things, right? We speak our mind, and I try not to be a respecter of persons. It doesn't matter to me if somebody aligns with Patriot Movement or Black Lives Matter or left or right. Now, I have opinions on these things, and I don't agree with all these different factions. But as we have courts that are universally corrupt, as we have police that are universally corrupt, yes, all of them, all the police are bad guys. You can't sign up as a member of the Gestapo and be defending justice. That's not how it works. There are cops that try to become cops to do good, and they quickly realize they can't, and they get fired or worse. Okay, so they don't stay cops. You cannot be as in continue as. You cannot maintain. The moment you become a good cop, you become no longer a cop. You don't even really get to become a good cop before they fire you, because as soon as they see signs of you questioning the system, you're out. And so what's happened is, think about this nation, the USA. We are so enslaved that we have Blue ISIS murdering members of people's family, and those same people come out and they actually have the loyalists whispering in their ear, and they spread the rhetoric of the state and actually support the very cartel that killed and imprisoned their family members. This is how asleep. And then we turn around and we call that patriotism. And we call those who speak out against these criminals, we call them hateful. But just like most people in their propaganda, they don't know the words coming out of their mouth. They've been deceived. See, you can hate injustice. You have to hate injustice to love freedom. That doesn't mean you're hateful. People have been coming out recently because the Blue ISIS, right, calling the police what they are. They are the #1 terrorists in the USA, and none of them will honor their oath. I've had a $500 reward out for someone that could find a good cop for over a year now. No one can, because you cannot be a good cop, at least not in the USA. And so as Blue ISIS wages war on freedom, the people that say, I love freedom, I want to defend freedom, they're actually out there attacking those of us who speak out. They say, well, you're generalizing and this and that. You know, imagine if the Founding Fathers, let's talk about a quote from the Founding Fathers. Well, you can't just go attacking all the redcoats. You got to be angry at the king, not his enforcers. That's a quote from no Founding Father ever. When the enemies of freedom wage war on freedom, they are criminals. And the fact that they wear a magic uniform has no bearing on this. So because I hate injustice, and because I resist evil, because I love my neighbor as myself, and I love even the wicked enough to tell them that they're wicked, that doesn't make me hateful. That makes me loving, because I care about these people. And so what we've come to a place is where people who call themselves patriots and people who call themselves Christians, they actually promote the hate of truth, the hate of justice, the ostracization and the attacking, the vilification, the imprisonment, and the death of those speaking the truth. And they do it in the name of Jesus, in the name of freedom, and in the name of love. And the easily deceived fool falls for it, because they spin it with pretty words and they make it sound good. See, what I'm telling you isn't convenient. You know, the USA is dead It's over, you guys, because people refuse to love their neighbor. They refuse to resist blue ISIS. They had to stay convincing themselves that they were free in their slavery, and because of that, we have lost all freedom in the USA, and we will not be getting it back in this current USA. The USA is over, and that's why I say know when to get out. And so as people continue to pretend their families go to prison, their families are killed, and the narrative is, in all of this, to be patriotic, you support the police, you support the government. That's patriotic. You have a nation that's convinced people that patriotism is not defending freedom. It's not defending justice. It's not defending your fellow man. The USA is a nation that is so perfectly perfected its brainwashing and propaganda that they have convinced a nation of people to believe that patriotism is to wave the flag, salute the Führer, and submit to the state, and furthermore to attack and villainize any who resist. And that's what the so-called patriot movement that aren't really patriots are doing. Some of them, I think, at one point were patriots, but they've been bullied and beat down and deceived and brainwashed because they didn't have the strength, they didn't have the courage to stay the course. And because of that, we lost our nation. See, in the future, children will ask their teachers and their parents, and they'll look at the USA after it's long gone and fallen, and they'll look at the fascism, and they'll look at what we tolerated, and they'll ask, how did they let this happen? Just like we ask now, and we asked when we were growing up about Nazi Germany, the children of the future will ask, how did they let this happen? Why did they let it get this bad? And I'm going to give you the answer right now for the future. Because they were lazy. Because they didn't want to actually love. They didn't want to defend their children and their families. And so instead of doing that, they called submission, subservience, and slavery love and peace and justice. Because it was the only way in their minds and their cognitive dissonance that they could tolerate and keep from hating what they had become. So they lied to themselves and their friends, and they perpetrated that lie until they believed that slavery was freedom, that hate was love, that death was life, and that abuse was compassion. And that's how they let it happen. And that's why the USA died. And so I just want everyone to know I don't hate. I hate injustice. But I'm not hateful. I oppose people who do wrong, but I want them to change. But knowing that most of them won't change, I know that the first step to protect others is to stop them. And when I look at men like Lavoie, who died resisting and eluding blue ISIS, and I see people taking the names of those who fell, those from history, and using it to abuse the immigrant, to abuse the law, to abuse justice and due process. When I see people have the gall to say, I support the police because that's loving, like Lavoie Finicum, a man who wrote a book, the crux, the core of which was him resisting with all necessary force the police to stop their crimes against him and his neighbors. See, these are people who are willingly ignorant. They've chosen to lie to themselves because they cannot face the truth of what they've become. Because we've become, in the USA, a nation of lies and slavery and hypocrisy. And it doesn't matter what faction you align yourself with, because factions don't matter. The truth matters. And when we speak the truth, we're hated, and we're called names, and we're called hateful, and we should be proud of that. There's a storm coming. We should be proud of that, because that's patriotism. That's love. Do it from a right heart. Challenge yourself, because until we stop the respect of persons, until we stop the hypocrisy in our own hearts and minds and start caring for justice and loving our neighbor, we can't set the prisoners free. We can't set our children free. We can't have justice. We can't have law and order. We can't have freedom. All right, you guys, I don't want this to get too long. I'm going to go. It's getting going to be sunset here soon. I'm gonna head back. Thank you all. I had a little little moments of clarity this evening where I was feeling all right, and I thought I'd take a little time went down and had some seafood soup down at one of the restaurants there, and I'm gonna head back checking on the family. But you guys have a good one. Love your neighbor. Be peace. Don't be so hateful. Don't hate freedom so much. Don't hate the truth so much that you're willing to say, I back the blue. I support the system. I support the government. Because if you do, you hate law. You hate justice. You hate peace. You love disorder. And you may not even realize it, because what you really love is yourself so much, your pride so much, that you're not willing to admit the hypocrisy that our nation and our people have come to. Until we change that, we'll never have freedom. So I say this out of love, guys. Be peace. Stand up. Love your neighbor. And by all means, resist blue ISIS. Take care.